Hi everyone, Spider-Man 1991 here to talk about my comics for the week. First off, from Radical, two graphic novels of the same character, Hercules, the Thracian Wars, and the Knives of Kush. Basically, this is another radical story, radical stories that that sort of tell stories of mythical and legendary characters. In this case, Hercules. Both stories, though, feature Hercules as as a hired mercenary. He's part of a. He also has his own little team that they work as hired mercenaries for kings to sort of help lead their armies and train their soldiers and stuff. Interesting enough, though, this one. There are slight differences between the two stories, though. The first volume, it features Hercules more as the warrior, leading an army and training soldiers and stuff. Whereas in the second volume, you start to see a little more significance as his role as the son of Zeus. As you can see, if I can find the right page, right about here. Yep. Right along here. Where pretty much Hercules is getting hit by lightning and he's pretty much unharmed since, well, he's the son of Zeus. Which is pretty awesome right here. This is a nice picture. Both of these are pretty great. I loved them. There's a lot of blood though. I think there was more blood in this book than this one. Maybe a little more. They're about even, but there's a little more blood in this one since this is more of wars and this one's kind of more magic related. Still, they're both awesome. I love these. If you're a fan of Greek mythology, then I would definitely recommend picking these up. Or if you're a fan of Marvel's version of Hercules, then pick them up. Alright, now for my monthlies. Invincible Iron Man number 502, part 2 of the story where Dr. Octopus needs Tony Stark's help. Alright, while Tony is pretty much talking to Octopus, Tony asks Octopus to help him. While Tony's working for Octopus, he pretty much asks him if he could help him with his own problem, which is trying to find the mole in his company, the rat or whatever. And pretty much Octavius comes to a very clever description about who it might be. And of course, though, Tony figures out. And of course, though, meanwhile, Pepper Potts is dealing with Sandman and Electro, who are working for Doc Ock because he needs them to hold one of Tony's workers hostage for insurance purposes. And then Tony starts talking to Otto, and he says that he can't fix him, that he needs to see a doctor because this problem is medical, not technology. There's probably maybe Reed Richards or Dr. Pym or even Doctor Strange could help him, but he can't. And when Tony tells him this, Otto can't accept it. And he starts fighting back. And meanwhile, Pepper's sort of fighting back against Sandman and Electro. And in the end, though, Tony makes his move on Octopus, but Octopus fights back, knocks Tony down near the bomb, which is going to go off in 6 minutes. Okay, so basically, this is pretty much a story. Again, Otto Octavius is dying. He's kind of in his final days. And now he's pretty much getting his revenge on Tony Stark for being arrogant, brilliant, successful genius while he's pretty much suffered. Invincible Iron Man is okay, I guess. I mean, I'll see how it works out, but not so sure if I'll be keeping this title up any longer. Alright, now for a one-shot from the early days of the X-Men. A team-up of Iceman and Angel. Not really a team-up, though. It's more of just two members of the same team. Bobby and Warren are in New York City during spring break after Bobby forgot to buy their plane tickets, even though Warren made the reservations for them to spend their spring break in Mexico. And so basically they try to hang out in Manhattan, and giant sea monster shows up, and the two X-Men basically try their best to fight the monster, and they're pretty much wondering. Funny note here, they're pretty much like, where's the Fantastic Four, the Avengers, or the military? And we get Avengers, Fantastic Four, and the military confront the Submariner, who pretty much just wanted to buy a bagel because they don't have him in the sea. While they're saving civilians, though, when they try to help, the civilians basically turn on them because they hate mutants, which is very, very wrong. And so Bobby and Warren are able to talk to the monster, and it turns out he's an alien from another planet looking for his son, who he sent here as an egg so that he would grow up. And apparently the kid's in college now, so he's pretty much trying to find him. And apparently they can change size at will, so luckily the dad gets into a smaller size. They find his son in Mexico. And unfortunately though, Bobby and Warren are left in Mexico. But it's not very unfortunate now, is it? Okay. Unlike the Jean Grey one-shot, which came out in February, which focused more on her character, this was more of just your typical kind of fun buddy issue. That's what I'm seeing it as. It was pretty funny. It was kind of funny. There was a lot of jokes, and it was a good thing. It's sort of like your typical buddy movie here with Angel and Iceman. Oh, and also during the fight, though, Iceman makes a reference to Angel's wings, saying they should be made out of metal with knives coming out of them. Kind of an early joke to Archangel. Although it's weird, because this is supposed to take place in the first class, I think in the sort of original X-Men era, but Bobby mentions that they know Wolverine, and he just went to Japan, so what does that mean? Don't know quite yet, but oh well. Still good. Alright, now for my favorite title, one of my favorite titles from Marvel. Amazing Spider-Man 656. Now, Spidey's going off to deal with the new menace known as Massacre, who's holding people hostage, threatening to kill them. But when Spider-Man shows up, he falls, loses control of his webbing because he no longer has his spider sense, and the building was crumbling, so bad road for that. Oh, and also it couldn't help. Also, the guy when Spidey tried to negotiate with the villain, he had I guess a 100-shot revolver, and Peter's doing his best to dodge bullets, but it's getting hard because he doesn't have a spider sense. And he puts a spider tracer on him, but he gets shot. And also, he can't find Massacre because the tracers were in tune to his spider sense, but that doesn't work. And now Spidey's patched up, and meanwhile, Mary Jonah Jameson has pretty much decided now to take a zero-tolerance policy with murderers, and has decided that if that there's a zero-tolerance policy for murder, and he wants Alistair Smythe on the death penalty, and he's pretty much settled to go after Massacre and kill him, using lethal force. And Peter's getting a new suit ready to go off. Again, doesn't have a spider sense, so he gets hit by a soda can. And then he speaks to Max Modell and the captain that Spidey's friends with, and they learn more about Massacre, about how he suffered brain damage, which pretty much shut off all emotion and feelings he has. Which pretty much makes him what's the right word here? Unappreciative of life, I guess, and that's the reason, and that's sort of the reason why he's behind killing people. And while during the next confrontation with Massacre, Spider-Man shows up with not just the new bulletproof costume, but also magnetic webbing that cuts off all radio transmissions. So the bombs that are strapped to the victims, they're no longer set off by a remote detonator. And again, he uses his magnetic webbing to stop another trap Massacre lays. And just when the New York City police has their chance to take a shot and kill him, Spidey throws him down and makes sure that no one dies, not even the bad guy. Of course, now Jonah's back to hating Spider-Man because apparently for what he did, saying that he couldn't let him live, that he can't let the bad guys live. But Jonah says that everyone deserves life, and he says that no one dies while he's around. That's the new rule. And so in the last shot, Spidey makes a decision that he's going to make sure no one dies ever again. Not for Uncle Ben, Captain Stacy, or Gwen or Marla, just for everyone who's around him to make sure that they're safe. Which is pretty awesome. Which is a pretty awesome issue. Okay, this issue, again, awesome. I love Dan Slott writing this, and the new bulletproof suit looks pretty badass. I love the new suits that Peter's coming up with. Pretty soon, he's going to have like a whole Spidey wardrobe of costumes. If he ever gets fired from Horizon Labs, I don't know what he's going to do with them, though. Maybe just hide him in some sort of spider cave, I guess. Suit for every occasion now. Alright, now for my second favorite series from Marvel. Avengers Academy. Vale tries to bring back Janet, aka the Wasp. Unfortunately, when Hank Pym catches her, he's too late to stop the process, and a woman reappears, but it's not Janet. It's actually the wife of Korvac, one of the most powerful villains the Avengers have ever fought, and now he's back. Fortunately, though, when the Academy's getting ready to stand up to him, every single other Avenger shows up. And Dr. Pym moves the students and Korvac's wife away from the battle so that they'll be safe, into a safe room that is apparently Jocasta, and she's moving them in a new dimension every 2.3 seconds to keep them away. But while they're in the safe room, Korvac's wife reveals to them that she's observed their timelines, and she knows that they're probably the only ones who can defeat Korvac. And she says that she could change their bodies and give them the appearance of give them their older selves, the bodies and skills of their older selves, while they'd still retain their present memories and personalities. And apparently Vale lives on to be in her 30s, which then makes her sort of join the rest of the students' decision to go through the process. And during the battle, though Thor falls, then Speedball is actually able to use his penance energy to harm Korvac, but then all of a sudden, the students show up, older and more powerful. Don't know why so far Reptile is in full dinosaur, which is great. And now they're going to get ready to fight Korvac. Alright, so apparently Vale lives on, so apparently Vale gets older, which is sort of a relief here. Well, I mean, she's not really the center, well, she is kind of at the center of this, it's just her monologue is the only one going on right now. Again, Avengers Academy, this is great. Now, the students are pretty much in the bodies of their older selves, and maybe next issue they'll get a little revelation to what they'll be like when they grow up. So, yeah. Okay. Again, Avengers Academy, awesome issue. Love it. And now for my final Marvel, one of my favorite miniseries. Yeah, taking a little break from the main storyline of Avengers Crusade, we have The Children's Crusade presents Young Avengers, a one-shot. It pretty much tells the story about what happened to Ireland. He's seen fighting Kang the Conqueror, but then right when he has Kang cornered, the Avengers show up. Pretty much future versions of his friends. And apparently Patriot has married the Falcon's daughter, and they have a son. And now pretty much it's revealed in the future that Cassie is now Stinger, and she's in a relationship with Nathaniel, who's now Kang the Conqueror. Speed and Hawkeye, Speed, now known as Quicksilver, is in a relationship with Hawkeye, and they're expecting twins. And the Vision no longer has his emotions. And also in this issue, while they're sort of talking, apparently the Avengers are after them for what went wrong during the Children's Crusade. And apparently Billy's dead. But we also get a little flashback here about this Avengers team mission is so that they could pretty much figure out a way to take out big threats throughout time that could affect the thing or whatever. Well, anyways, also we get a little flashback here to what really happened the first night the Young Avengers got together as a team. They trained with holograms of the original Sinister Six. Then the Big Four originally decided to go out to show Nathaniel a good time, since he had never really had a joyous occasion in the 31st century. And they almost run into Kate Bishop, But then they notice a lightning storm, which is revealed to be Electro. And so the Young Avengers try their best to stop Electro, but unfortunately, Iron Lad gets hurt and they're forced to pull back. But while they're able to get Iron Lad back up, they notice a burning building and they decide to go save civilians overstocking the supervillain, which is the same building where they were first photographed, and the Daily Bugle named them the Young Avengers. And so they decide, and that's when Nathaniel tries to remind them that it was their responsibility to protect people. And then Billy they try to justify that they made the wrong decision because Electro later destroyed the raft and had a huge prison break. But Nathaniel counteracts with the prison break got the Avengers back together. But their purpose turned out to be the elimination of anyone who stood in their way, including Billy. And now, apparently Kang tells Iron Lad that Billy and the Scarlet Witch both died when the Avenger. Well, Billy died trying to save the Scarlet Witch during the whole Latveria fiasco. And so now Iron Lad decides to go back in time and try to save Billy to make sure this doesn't happen. But behind the scenes, though, Billy is alive, and apparently he's the new Sorcerer Supreme. And this was all part of Kang's plan to pretty much turn Iron Lad into Kang the Conqueror and destroy the Avengers forever. Alright, so Young Avengers, the one-shot here. This is a nice little sort of behind the scenes to kind of answer your questions to why Iron Lad came back and why Iron Lad came back. That was a surprise from the last issue. So now, next month, the Children's Crusade storyline will be back and running. And hopefully that will have a very exciting ending for the Young Avengers. I like these characters. They're great. Okay, now time for DC. Red Robin, number 21. The Underworld arc, the Internet arc concludes here. Tim is able to find the source of the Internet, which is apparently the Madmen, who are pretty much being used as the servers for it. And Tim is pretty much trying to figure out a way to stop the Madmen and destroy the Internet so no one can use it. And the Russian criminal who's controlling the Internet, Mikolek, yeah, that's it. He's pretty much trying to use the Internet. He's pretty much trying to use the Internet so everyone will have available to it, which would lead to him controlling everyone in the world. Fortunately, Tim has his own. And the Internet Anarchy's there to sort of be Tim's firewall, and it will stop. And so he's able to control the Anarchy's controlling the Internet while Tim's trying to take care of the servers, which is the Madmen, who were villains who fought the second Blue Beetle, Ted Kord. And during the fight, though, Tim asks Lonnie, aka Anarchy, if he has a plan to stop them, and Lonnie tells him that he can stop them and pretty much sever the connection with the Internet, but it would mean the Madmen would be crazy forever. And of course, Tim takes that action to save them, to stop the world from going mad. And so, the Madmen isolated, pretty much Tim feels that the Internet is gone forever. Or is it? Because Anarchy's still there. Okay, Red Robin 21. Not really an exciting conclusion here. And I gotta admit, I kind of lost track of the Internet story arc because it was just a little confusing for me. Anyways, this is pretty much the last issue of Red Robin I'm going to get because I am trying to save some money, so I'm dropping this. Okay, I'm just going to drop Red Robin. I like Tim, but this just isn't really exciting for me. Sorry, buddy. Alright, Adventure Comics 524. The students who pretty much broke curfew and went off into the city are now getting berated by a Duplicate Girl and Bouncing Boy. More Duplicate Girl than Bouncing Boy, though. And during the discussion, though, they pretty much leave during the rant, and apparently Chemical Kid wants to figure out what happened to his dad since he tried to use his father's credits last night, but it didn't work, so he thinks something's up. And so Chemical Kid takes Dragon Breath, Gravity Kid, and Comet Queen, and who else? Glorith with him to figure out what happened to his father. They arrive on Chemical Kid's planet, and it's revealed that Chemical Kid's dad gave him his powers just like the original Chemical Kid. And they show up, his house is trashed, and they find that the attacker is Black Mace, Legion villain. No idea why he's there, though. All we get next is a fight scene. And also Chemical Kid's powers no longer work. Apparently no longer functional. So they're being taken out. Okay. Adventure Comics Legion 524. Not much going on here. This was just one long fight scene. I felt there was like little development there, except the only development here was the Black Mace thing, but nothing. It wasn't too exciting for me. I'll see where this ends, and if I like it, I'll keep Adventure Comics, but if not, I'm gonna drop it like Red Robin. Alright, Superman 709, guest starring The Flash. This was actually pretty good. While Superman is walking, he arrives in Colorado, and all of a sudden, it starts getting... he hears a voice speaking in Kryptonian, and while he's in Colorado, the town suddenly transformed to look like Krypton, and then he notices the Flash running with some weird headband on. And as soon as Superman takes off the headband, Flash is back to normal. And once they're able to get the town back to normal, Superman and Flash go in and they discuss things. And Flash tells him that he found the headband in Australia. He tried, being the scientist that he is, he put it on, and that pretty much gave him some knowledge of Krypton and Kryptonian. And while they're talking, though, Superman talks about the law and justice with a story from his past with back in high school with him and young Lex Luthor. And apparently Clark is in detention because he got caught skipping class because he was too busy being Superboy. But he couldn't tell anyone, so he has to accept detention. Lex, meanwhile, was stuck there because he tried to steal 40 cakes from a bake sale. Yeah. And Lex pretty much decides that there's no such thing as right and wrong, and he leaves. But Clark feels that he still did something wrong, and he needs to serve his time. And after they leave the restaurant, though, Superman talks to Flash about having a legacy, and he tells him that in the future he'll have a huge legacy, the Legion of Supermen. And then Clark asks him, "Look, when I asked you what you could see across the country, you said you can only see a blur." And Flash said that he was joking, and he sees the faces of everyone and everything. And Superman tells him that lately his perception has been a little bit skewed, but Flash says that he's been through a lot, and pretty much this is just the worst thing that can happen to him. Eventually things get better. Not really bad issue. The conversations between Flash and Superman are pretty much what I felt were great about this. It's not the best part of Grounded, but, for now, though, I am probably going to get the Superman book until next month. Then I'm going to switch over to Action, because Superman will be back with Action Comics 900, and I'm probably going to pick up Superman again once Grounded has ended. Now, brightest day number 22, Firestorm vs. the Anti-Monitor. Firestorm is in Quard, and he notices that Deathstorm is working for the Anti-Monitor. And the Anti-Monitor wants to absorb the power of the White Lantern, since he absorbs all light, and the White Lantern is essentially life. And so anyways, then the entity is pretty much... And the White Lantern there says that it needs information on the antimatter universe. And then Firestorm attacks the Black Lantern clones, turns the helmet of the Anti-Monitor into helium, lights a match, boom. Takes him out. Firestorm grabs the lantern, but then he gets hit, and Firestorm reverts back to Ronnie and Jason. And then Deathstorm sort of mocks Ronnie, telling him that soon he's gonna die again and stuff. And Deathstorm does release the Professor. Then Deathstorm gets ready to kill Jason, but Ronnie tries to get in the way of the blast, but Professor Stein takes the hit, and he's turned into salt. And Professor Stein is turned into salt. and Jason and Ronnie transform back into Firestorm, but they can't save the Professor. And in the Professor's last moments, he tells Ronnie that he's been like a son, that he is his son. He was a son to him. And then Firestorm gets really mad. And then Firestorm eventually decides to work with Ronnie decides to work with Jason, and that leads to their mission being accomplished, which decimates every single one of the Black Lantern clones, and then it brings Ronnie and Jason back to Earth. And apparently off-screen, Jason's father was brought back to Earth. And so Firestorm pretty much demands that the Lantern bring back the Professor, but the Lantern says no, it's not necessary. And then Deadman shows up asking Firestorm to give him the Lantern. And the entity from the Lantern saying, do what he says, Earth depends on it. Now here's something interesting. Every time one of the heroes has been brought back, they've been blasted. But now, since Firestorm is holding the Lantern and Deadman shows up, he didn't get hit. What's that about? Maybe now that Deadman has found the Lantern, then he can stop shooting the people he brought back, I guess. Okay, Brightest Day number 22. Excellent. It's a Firestorm issue. If you're a fan of Firestorm, pick it up. Still, if you're not a fan of Firestorm, and you have been reading Brightest Day, then get it, because I'll guarantee you'll love this character. He's amazing. Now for my final comic. Young Justice number 2. So far in the Young Justice series, Superboy has somehow wound up in the early days of the Justice League. And just like in the original DC universe, Snapper Carr betrayed the Justice League Snapper sort of sold out the Justice League. Joker found out about the Justice League headquarters from Snapper Carr. I'm not so sure if this Snapper betrayed them by choice, because the original Snapper he did, but this one not so much. It looks more like the Joker forced the information out of him. Joker sets a trap for the Justice League. Superboy's there. He can't do anything. He's tied up, which is surprising since he has super strength. And the Joker releases a bunch of rabid, evil monkeys. My God. And Superboy is able to break free, and he goes off and Superboy tries to attack the Joker, but he just goes right through him. And so Superboy's starting to trying to think here what's going on. Then he lands in one of the gates, and the gate comes on saying, "Recognize Superboy." And then Superboy suddenly starts to get that this is just all an illusion. So he grabs Aquaman, throws Aquaman to the gate, but Aquaman isn't recognized. So then that leads Superboy to realize that this isn't real. He has a whole sonic boom, disperses the illusion, and apparently it was one of the genomes from Cadmus. And it's revealed that this genome is none other than the one that was feeding all the information to Superboy while he was cloned at Cadmus. And apparently the reason the genome is there is because he missed Superboy. And Superboy tells Red Tornado, so Red Tornado decides to take the genome back to Cadmus, and it obviously followed him here because it obviously missed him. And the reason it was able to bring the whole illusion of the Joker and the Justice League is because it was a traumatic event and there's still psychic residue from what happened. And he tells Superboy to rest, and Miss Martian asks if Superboy learned anything, and he says, "Yes, I hate monkeys." Funny. Young Justice, if you love the TV show, you'll love this. That's all I have to say about it. And if you're not watching the TV show, watch it. It's great. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so that's all my comics. Okay, recap. Young Justice #2. Love the show. You'll love this. Brightest Day #22. This gives you a whole reason to love Firestorm. Superman 709. Great conversation between Superman and the Flash. Adventure Comics Legion Academy. If you haven't been reading this, then you could probably skip it till the next story arc. Red Robin #21. Not an exciting end. I'm going to be dropping this now. Young Avengers Avengers Children's Crusade. Young Avengers one shot. Pretty great. Nice little behind the scenes story about what happened to why Iron Lad came back. Avengers Academy #11. Great. Now it's up to the kids of Avengers Academy to take on one of the most powerful foes the Avengers have ever faced. Amazing Spider-Man 656. Another great masterpiece by Dan Slott. Iceman and Angel, one shot. Pretty much an X-Men version of a buddy movie. Invincible Iron Man 502. If you haven't been reading the story arc, then skip it. It's just Dr. Octopus trying to make Tony admit that he can't solve a problem. And Hercules Radicals, Hercules, Thracian Wars, and Knives of Krush. If you're a Hercules fan or a fan of Greek mythology, get these. They're awesome. And my comic of the week, I would have to say, goes to Amazing Spider-Man. Okay, this is my comic of the week. Amazing Spider-Man is definitely my comic of the week. Not Avengers Academy, because that's kind of just a setup right now, and not really Young Avengers, because that's more of just behind the scenes. But this is my comic of the week. I loved it. And that's all I have to say. Spider-Man 1991 saying, see you next week.